Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. It's called the e-commerce expansion experience. We're giving this webinar today because we know our customers are always eager to know what opportunities are out there for business expansion when it comes to new marketplaces and new channels. So you've built your retail business, you've mastered the basics, and now you're ready to see what else is out there, what other opportunities are there for you to grow. So, to prepare you for liftoff into new markets, we're exploring what you need to do to take that leap and what questions you need to consider before doing so. So, today I am your MC. My name is Mirakl. I'm the marketing director here at eDesk, and today I'm joined by Whitney Mayfield. Whitney spent 15 years working in the fashion retail industry, and she's currently managing the seller recruitment team at Mirakl. So they bring on sellers of various sizes across all industries to onboard onto Mirakl-powered marketplaces. Whitney will help provide an FAQ for what you need to know, consider, prepare, ask yourself before you launch onto new marketplaces and channels. And then we have Gareth. Gareth is our Chief Technical Officer here at eDesk, and he leads the product development, architecture, and engineering function across our customer support solutions. His role today is to help provide you guidance on how you can keep customers happy, loyal, engaged as you expand onto these new channels and new marketplaces. So I'm just going to provide a quick overview of what's covered today. You're going to learn why you should expand your online business into multiple marketplaces. There's questions you kind of need to ask yourselves before launching onto new marketplaces. What touch points and channels for customer communication should a company have when they expand? And how you can identify which marketplaces might be ideal for you. We're also going to look at how you can provide customer service in multilingual markets and regions. So I'm going to do our first question, and I believe this question is more suitable for Whitney. If you would take the lead, please.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
question, I'll just actually state the question, is why you should expand your online business into multiple marketplaces. Take the lead there, Whitney.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think this is one that we get asked often about going on multiple marketplaces, especially once you're already established on one. And I think the key things to really think about are, number one, obviously going on multiple marketplaces will help boost your sales. It will also help you push inventory. So right now we hear a lot about supply chain. Some customers have too much inventory of different products, and this can really help you, evenly distribute your merchandise. Also, figure out which marketplace is really best suited for different categories that you might have. We have a wide breadth of industries that you could push various categories, or some are more generalist where you could push all ranges of merchandise that you have. I think another big one that we really work with brands on is visibility. For example, even in my prior company to coming to Mirakl, we were a smaller company and didn't quite have access to a lot of retailers or marketplaces. And so this just makes it much easier to kind of have that entry point into like a J. Crew or a Madewell or Anthropologie or Gallery Lafayette or some of those kind of worldwide names that you hear about, but maybe don't have an entry point, or whenever you contact them, they have limited open to buy dollars. So they're not open to bringing on your category. And this is where you can really, leverage marketplace and sell on these channels. You're exposed to their customer base, which usually is quite large. You benefit from their large traffic that comes to their site every month in ways that you otherwise wouldn't. Your SKUs can also sometimes be highlighted in a different capacity depending on how many they have on their site. I think another key advantage is if you do have a 1P or wholesale relationship with a retailer, they oftentimes pick up very limited number of SKUs. And this is a great way to complement that assortment. So if you want to feature your full line, you're able to. I think, as well, you're able to feature, maybe off-price merchandise, something from a prior season. You can feature some sale categories. So I think there's those are kind of the key things that we really focus on is the sales, the inventory, pushing your visibility, and then complementing that 1P assortment if you have that relationship.
I think it's a great
Excellent.
point Whitney makes about visibility, actually. I think because, when you're, we all know in terms of a seller, trying to grow your audience and finding more channels you can sell on. We're a big believer here in eDesk that, if your kind of single channel selling strategy is not the strategy to go after, right? Because you become very reliant on a single channel. There's so many other channels there to find your audience. Even on Amazon, for example, I saw a stat, I think it was today or yesterday, that Amazon's ad revenue has grown so far now that's actually above all newspapers' ad revenue across the globe. And it's really interesting because the dynamics of Amazon have changed. So now even on Amazon, you have to invest a lot more in terms of ads and spend to grow your brand and grow your reach. Whereas with spreading your kind of sales strategy across multiple different channels, it gives you more opportunity to grow that visibility, grow the breadth, and grow your sales, and find, rather than you trying to, I suppose, drive audience to you, you can find where your audience is and where consumers that match your brand or match your products. And I think that's, for me at least, really exciting in terms of Mirakl, that it gives you that kind of depth and breadth of marketplace, and you can find what's right for where you can sell on and where you can find more consumers. And I think that's in today's climate and in today's marketing, that's really, really important as an online seller, that you do that, because as I say, it's becoming more and more competitive. Either growing your own brand through your own web store or traditional channels like Amazon are becoming more and more difficult to kind of grow that audience. So rather than you trying to grow the audience, you can find where the audience is, which I think is really, really important.
Great points. And on to the next question. So, what questions do sellers need to ask themselves before launching onto these new marketplaces? Whitney, that's for you, I believe.
Perfect. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think, kind of going back, looking at your current distribution. So where are you currently selling? And then kind of asking yourselves the questions of what's missing? Is there a section of the retail landscape that you're not selling to? So if you're selling on an Amazon, but you're looking to elevate your brand, is there potential you could sell on a Saks? And, I think also trying to figure out if you want to gain more control over your brand. I think in the past, traditionally, it's been all about kind of that wholesale relationship. And we've found that some brands have almost grown too fast and have too much breadth. And I think we really also advertise the advantage of kind of bringing some of that control back to you as the seller. An advantage of also being on marketplace is you control your promotions, you control your pricing, you control your imagery. And so that can be really appealing to brands to kind of want to regain some of that control. I think another question to really look at is what's your current team and what's their current bandwidth? So who manages your shipping and logistics? Can you take on additional channels and additional marketplaces and have additional stores? And what does that shipping turnaround time look like? Obviously another big component is customer care, which is where your partnership is so vital, and that we really push is making sure you can respond to customers in a timely manner. That is one thing that people really want right now. They want, if they're not getting, if they have questions about the product or they have questions about an order they got, we really advise that quick turnaround time to get back to customers. That's what they're used to. That's the expectation. And then I think finally is really just looking at your roadmap. So what are your key goals? What are the financial incentives to, a wholesale versus a drop ship versus a marketplace? And what does that look like for you as a seller? What are the different, commission and subscription rates of different marketplaces, and how does that compare to margin? And then another big one, for us is because Mirakl is an international company. We have marketplaces all over the world. And we find that a lot of sellers are looking to expand internationally, but maybe don't fully understand how to go about doing that, or they don't have contacts. And that's where we really come in and can help with what that process looks like.
Yeah, great points, Whitney. I think exactly it, right? I think from speaking to sellers over the years, right, they are always very interested in expanding and growing their presence, but always it's probably a little bit of a fear factor or a little bit of concern of how they go about do that. I think that's where the with Mirakl Connect, there's great opportunity there for the expertise and the guidance and how you approach those marketplaces. And really interesting, you mentioned, I think, margin or protect. we often see actually that you could be selling the same product on a different marketplace or in a different region. And there's actually opportunity for you to sell the same product at a higher margin. That's because in certain regions or certain districts, there'll be a bigger premium for certain products. So I've seen in the past, even with products like headphones, where in the UK market you could sell at one price, but in the German market you could sell it at a very much higher price. So there's opportunity there for sellers to find their niche marketplaces where they can actually sell their existing products, but sell them at a better margin. So I think that's really important. And again, those kind of niche marketplaces, like a great example would be somewhere like Best Buy in Canada, right? They've a really strong brand in Canada. I used to live there for a period of time, and Best Buy is everywhere, right? And in this time when there's a little bit of maybe tightening on spend or discretionary spend, consumers will go back to the channels that they trust and that they know, and brands that they know. And that's where you can use, as I said, the example of Best Buy in Canada is a great example of, if you're selling electronics, you can kind of hook into that brand, hook into that established brand that's been around for a long period of time and grow. So I think that's a really key point. And as Whitney said, the customer support element, I think the key thing is consistency, because I, as a consumer, expect the same level of service no matter where I buy off, right? So you as a seller, you need to make sure that you're adhering to SLAs. In fact, not just adhering, you want to be beating, you want to be exceeding that, right? You want to make sure you're kind of beating your competition, you're growing your reputation. That's really, really important. Managing different SLAs, different marketplaces might have slightly different, return policies or slightly different nuances. So again, by using a product like eDesk, of course, you can help in terms of manage those discrepancies. But yeah, I think there's some things. But yeah, I think the fear factor in particular, I think that's where I think having someone like Mirakl on board to guide you with that, I think is a real big advantage. And I think that's something that I think sellers should leverage, because I think they can help you and guide you and take away that kind of unknown or that kind of fear factor.
I think that actually naturally leads into our next question, Gareth, which you kind of touched upon. How can you consistently deliver great customer experience as you expand multiple channels?
Yeah, absolutely. I always use a quote from Jeff Bezos, right? Because he says the most important single thing to focus on obsessively is on the customer, right? And Amazon have been pretty successful in e-commerce, so they've been pretty successful. Therefore, I think it's a great thing to focus on is that customer focus, that customer experience. In fact, I think Amazon have kind of leadership principles, and the first one today is customer obsession, right? Start with the customer and work backwards, and that's a really, really important thing when it comes to customer experience. You want to make sure that you have a consistent experience, right? You want to make sure that no matter what channel you sell on, be it on a marketplace, be it on directly through web store, be it on through social channels, that the experience is consistent, okay? And that no matter where your sellers engage or your buyers engage, you give that consistent experience. I think another thing is I touched on already is SLAs and timing, but you want to make sure that you're not just matching those SLAs, you're responding faster, you're standing out for your competitors, you're giving a very positive customer experience to someone who's buying from you, right? Because again, that drives repeat purchase, that drives better reviews, that drives better, more repeat loyal customers, which is really, really important. And I suppose the other thing is that you don't want to be duplicating effort, okay? So you don't want to be logging into different systems, different platforms, different channels to kind of respond to customers. You want to bring that into one centralized place. So again, you get that consistent response. You can use things like automation. You can use things like templates. And again, you can use tools that help you do that because again, good customer experience drives loyalty, drives repeat custom. And that's really what you want, right? You want to build up that when you acquire a customer or bring a customer in who buys off you, you want to have that customer buy off you again. And again, customer experience makes it a big proportion of why people come back and buy off you again. So really, really important in that regard.
Brilliant. Whitney, back over to you. How would you identify which marketplaces are ideal for you?
Yeah, I think going back to really looking at your roadmap and what your goals are as an organization and looking at what the marketplace assortment is. So, For Mirakl, we have hundreds of marketplaces worldwide across all industries. We have B2C, we have B2B, we have those that are considered more luxury, we have those that are considered more generalist, we have some that are regionally based, and we have some that are more global. So I think really trying to figure out as an organization who you're trying to reach and how you're trying to position your brand. I touched on it at the beginning. Do you have inventory that you're trying to push through? Do you have more limited supply chain? Are you really going for brand visibility, especially for those smaller sellers that are, trying to reach more people? Being really aware of who that audience is that you're trying to target to make sure that you can get your product in front of them. And then I think, as Gareth has touched on and as I have touched on, also still really making sure that you have the bandwidth as a seller to, fulfill those customer needs, their questions, the fulfillment, and making sure that you, maintain that trust with the customer as you are building your brand. And then I think on the opposite side, if you're a larger brand, trying to bring that distribution in-house and really have more control over your brand image. We're finding more and more large scale sellers. I think a lot of people have even read in the news about some, really well-known luxury goods sellers kind of going to this more marketplace only model so they can control more of that image, pricing, promotions. All of that is really prevalent right now. So I think really asking yourselves those questions. And then I think, kind of a plug for my team with the Mirakl Connect team is that's where we can also help and also, discuss with a seller categories that a marketplace is looking for, what items do really well, if you're seasonally based, which marketplaces do really well at different times of year, whether it be for Mother's Day or Christmas or various holidays, Boxing Day. So I think that's where we can really help and know some of those nuances and help with, onboarding times and getting your SKU catalog live. But I think, first and foremost as a seller is really looking at your own goals and asking yourselves some pretty, clear questions. And then as Gareth and I even touched on earlier, looking at that margin versus commission based and seeing which financially makes more sense. And we find that a lot of times for a seller, it really is that marketplace. Especially if they do have shipping and fulfillment capabilities already kind of buttoned up.
Yeah, and it's a great point about the maybe the smaller marketplaces where you have better opportunity to maybe have a little more control around your brand and around what you can do, because we know for some of the larger marketplaces it's very strict, so very tight, some very tight controls there, right, in terms of what you can or cannot do. There's always risk on some of the larger marketplaces like Amazon or so on and so forth get suspended for kind of smaller reasons. But on smaller marketplaces, there's much more opportunity to have better conversations around that and actually be able to grow some of your brand and brand equity. And again, B2B as well is another. I was looking at some of that. There's such a wide range of marketplaces on through the Mirakl Connect platform. But I was looking at, I think it was Metro in France, which is really interesting, B2B, who essentially they retail to restaurants and they've had great growth. So there's lots of kind of niche opportunities there. Lots of marketplaces that will be, again, repeat myself a little bit here, but they'll be oriented towards your brand, your products, and it's just about finding those spaces. And again, you're going to find the audience who's right for you, rather than maybe a small fish in a big pond, right? You can find that audience and be the right there. So I think there's lots of great opportunity there in terms of as Whitney said, kind of focusing on some of those smaller marketplaces that might suit your niche or suit your brand better.
Whitney, would there be any sort of competitor evaluation or research you have to conduct when you're looking at these marketplaces and seeing who else you'll compete with?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's great to always know, like when you're looking at marketplaces, the assortment that they carry, and definitely know if they carry like merchandise that you'll be sitting next to. I think it's good to also look at, what's the price point of the marketplace that they're selling. Kind of do a little bit of homework and some digging around on the marketplace platform. I think the other good thing about Connect is, if you're a seller, it's free to sign up to Mirakl Connect. And once you get into Connect, you can see all of our marketplaces that are on there. and you can actually kind of go through and see, what categories that marketplace is looking for, and kind of do some internal research as well. So absolutely, you can go on their, customer facing website, but then definitely, in Connect, we give a little bit more information that we really advise sellers to go through and kind of vet out. And we also have a feature where any marketplace that comes onto the Mirakl platform, you get a notification that, hey, there's a new marketplace. Do you want to check it out? Your categories align. And then that's another opportunity to just look at expanding your distribution.
Great. Gareth, another question for you, back to customer support. How can you provide a seamless customer experience across global regions?
Yeah, again, I think it's funny. It depends where you are as a region as a seller, right? So in particular, if you're a seller maybe based in the UK or Europe, obviously the obvious one is language, right? So if you're a seller in the UK, for example, and you're looking to expand in France or Germany or Italy or Spain, you may not have the capability to support consumers in their native language. So I think that's really, really important because, I as a consumer expect, if I'm engaging on a website or through a marketplace or purchasing a product, and I might even have some pre-sale queries, right, in terms of the size it comes in, or maybe your return policy, I expect to be able to have that conversation in my native language. And again, post sale, I expect to be able to converse in that. So I think that's really, really important. And what we see in particular in across Europe is that, depending on the country, there's different marketplaces, or it's not maybe as harmonized as, if you look at North America, you've got the big giants like Amazon and eBay, Walmart. But in Europe, depending on the country, there's different marketplaces and different rankings. So I think, the ability to converse, especially when you're talking about customer experience, right? The ability to converse in the native language of the consumer or of the buyer who's engaging with you, I think that's really, really important. I think without that, you're kind of on the back foot a little bit initially. I think also in terms of, consumers these days are expecting to engage across lots of different channels, right? So obviously through marketplaces, typically that might be through messaging or email, but you've also got different things like chat, you've got messaging, you've got social, you've even got WhatsApp these days, right? So there's all these different channels where consumers will engage with you, right? And they, it's funny, they might buy off one channel, but they might decide to communicate with you through another channel. And it's really important, again, that you're managing those experiences really, really consistently. You don't want somebody publicly on your Facebook profile or on your Twitter handle or kind of saying really, really negative things about the experience they've had with you in terms of buying. That's very negatively damaging to your brand. We all know how hard it is to build up your brand, to build up the equity. It only takes one viral tweet for that to all go really badly, right? So it's really important that you're engaging on all those different channels. And again, consumers, we're all consumers, right? We all expect to be able to kind of converse in these different ways. Even indeed WhatsApp, which we've just added to our eDesk platform most recently. That's really interesting because, again, I've had that experience as on the other side where, and it works quite well in terms of it's kind of asynchronous communication, right? So I can send a message querying about something, and at some stage I get a response back, but because I have my phone in my pocket, it's fine. I can kind of carry it around with me, right? As opposed to if I'm on chat, I want my answer there and now because I'm at my laptop or I'm at my computer. So I guess the main thing is, again, in terms of is having that consistent experience across all those different channels, but also enabling your consumers to engage with you in all those different channels, because that's what they expect. That's what I suppose the modern world is these days, right? As I said, they can buy off one channel, engage with you through another. But again, what we find is that sellers who build that customer experience, put the customers first, they see a higher level of repeat purchases. They see a higher LTV value across their customers. They see a better brand engagement. So all those things are underpinned by that, excellent customer experience. So again, I think that's really, really important.
And additionally, Gareth, so you're expanding into new markets with potentially different languages, different locales. What can you do to make sure you're prepared when entering a different region with its own language, with its own culture? What can make sure that you've gotten fully prepared for that launch?
Yeah, well, I think again, the important thing, and this is where not just our own software, right? This is where software can help you across those different places, because as you rightly say, different regions, different countries will have specifics, right? And without you having, people on the ground or people who are kind of who know that those regions very well, you're going to struggle against that. But that's where you can, again, coming back to some of the same points, but like leaning on Mirakl and Mirakl Connect, right? So they can bring some of that expertise and guidance. That's really, really important. Again, I can't stress that enough. And again, using other tools, not just for your customer support, but also considering in terms of fulfillment is really important. How are you going to ship products to these regions? How are you going to deal with returns? What are your shipping costs going to look like? All these things you need to consider, right, in terms of before you go into marketplaces. But yeah, I mean, some of the opportunity I've seen again with standard products in these different regions is, you can go from a net margin of maybe 15%. I've seen up to 35% on the same product, the same SKU, just in a different marketplace in a different region. So the opportunity is there. You just need to do your homework, and then you need to have a good strategy, and you need to know how you're going to. It's not just selling those marketplaces. It's obviously how you're going to ship, how you're going to handle customer support, how you're going to deal with returns. You need to consider all those elements before you enter in. But there's opportunity there. Like I know for a lot of our sellers, or they always want to do it, but sometimes there's a bit of a fear factor, and I understand that. You're busy with your day-to-day business and doing everything that comes with that. But there's opportunity there, and again, I think that's where we believe in terms of this partnership with Mirakl and eDesk, we can help and help enable sellers grow their business and get online across these different channels.
Cool. Whitney, I'm not sure if you would have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add to that from a Connect standpoint is the fact that we do have offices all over the world. And so we do connect people with a local team that, to Garrett's point, can work through some of those specific SLAs to those marketplaces. They help work through also, we get asked a lot about currency and what does that look like? And what is it actually like if you're a US based seller, but you're paying in the euro, what that really, that transaction looks like and some of those costs. So I think that is the other advantage, is that, we connect you with the team that's in the region of the marketplace. So you do have that support to ask some of those specific questions.
Brilliant. And I'd like to just ask about, I think, Garrett, this is more tailored for you. How can you avoid losing trust and deliver constant positive experiences for your customers as you grow and expand? So I imagine this is more so about your existing customer base.
Yeah, well, again, I think it's probably similar answers, right, in terms of trust. Like, the thing about trust, it's have to do a lot of work to earn trust, but it's very easy to lose it, right? So I think once you gain trust, or it's really important. And again, I come back to those same principles. You need to, there's an analogy in football. I'm a big football fan, right? So you're only as good as your last game, right? So you're only as good as your last, as your last customer experience, right, in terms of a purchase. So every single time you have to give that brilliant customer experience. It only takes, look, we all have one negative experience, right? And that outweighs everything else, positive experience that you might have had. So again, once you've built up that trust and brand, it's really important you maintain it. And how do you maintain? You communicate. There's always challenges, right? In terms, especially with current macro environments, in terms of delayed goods being shipped, in terms of challenges, right? Again, I think consumers understand that, they appreciate that. Again, they just want to make sure that they're being communicated to. There's proactive communication, that they know what's going on, right? Again, I think we've all been in an experience when we've had, there's been a problem, but when we have excellent kind of communication or excellent customer service, we're okay with it because we know what's going on. We know what's when we get frustrated is when we don't get a response, when we reach out, nothing, blank, right? That really frustrates everybody. So again, I think, trust is about communication, right? So you have to communicate, you have to be responsive, be proactive. If you do that, despite any challenges that may happen, some outside of your control, then it's still a very, very, you can still have a good relationship there. So I think that's really key in terms of that part.
Excellent. Well, that actually leads us on to our next question, which you have kind of covered quite significantly in a previous answer there, Gareth. But if you were to list out every essential touch point and channel that a business should have covered off as they expand, if you could even maybe talk about what they need fundamentally, what's nice to have, what's coming in the future or emerging, Just detail what you believe is the suite of customer support and comms touch points that a company needs to have as they grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the thing about touch points, it just keep growing, right? It just becomes more and more, as I was saying to an earlier question, right? It's just I suppose traditionally there was, when it came to customer communications, it was voice, right? And then well, I'm showing my age now. Then came email, right? That was next, right? And then chat was the next thing, right? But then social, right? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, right? Now messaging apps, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. So it just grows and grows. And again, I mean, this is a general trend outside of e-commerce, but we all expect to be able to have dialogue across all those different channels, right? That's just the normal behavior these days, right? It's not just one medium, right? So it's not just voice notes, right? It's everything, right? There's a whole mix of things of how we communicate as without getting too big about it, right? As human beings, right? We all interact in very, very, very different ways, right? But sometimes it depends on our mood, how we're feeling that day, right? So I think the really important thing is that you give that choice to your consumers or your customers, right? They expect to be able to engage with you in different channels, and you need to be able to engage. And depending on the cohort of customers you have, and depending on their age and stuff like that, you'll find different patterns, or different cohorts want to engage in different ways. But it's a dangerous, I suppose, game to assume, right? Because you're selling to a certain cohort that they'll only want to contact you maybe over phone or email, right? Because again, that's not the world we're living in, right? And different regions, like I mentioned WhatsApp earlier on, that's massive in Europe, maybe a little bit less so in the US, right? So different regions will have different different things, or different kind of communication platforms that they expect. So we truly believe, well, the two things we truly believe here in eDesk is that the future e-commerce is omni-channel, right? So there's going to be lots of different sales channels where you're going to be engaging and selling. And the second piece is that across those sales channels, there's going to be lots of different communication touch points, right? And you need to be connected to both. You need to be able to sell across all those different channels that are relevant to you, and then you need to be able to kind of communicate and engage. That's not just for post sales. Again, pre-sales is a really, really important part, right? So when especially if you're purchasing a higher value item, be it, so if you're buying a high ticket item, you're going to do your research, you're going to engage with the seller who's selling the good, and how quickly you get responded to, how what the engagement is like. And this is not just anecdotal. I can see it clearly in the data for our customers who respond quicker to pre-sales inquiries. They close up to 60% more in terms of business, right? Because again, we all do it as consumers. We're kind of testing, even if we're not outrightly thinking that, we're actually testing the seller and making sure they engage, because that gives us a sense of trust. And hey, I can trust these guys in terms of to deliver my product on time and with my hard-earned money, so on and so forth. So really, really important. It's not just for post-sale. It's also will drive growth and drive your sales and conversions. And again, we see that in our data all day long. So yeah, sales channels, omni-channel, but also in terms of customer communication, that's growing, and that's not going to stop, right? You've TikTok, Pinterest, all these other channels coming on as well, right? So it's metaverse. I could go on for hours. I'll just stop talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Whitney, just before we wrap up, I'd like to just kind of give you a chance to give maybe an elevator pitch. You yourself have worked with Mirakl, who offer sellers and brands exposure to 200 different marketplaces. People who attended here, they came to understand and get guidance on launching onto new marketplaces. So these are likely people and sellers and brands that are looking to, take the leap. So I want you to help kind of maybe answer for them or ease their mind as to whether they're ready. So I'll let you kind of talk to that before we close the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the great thing about Mirakl Connect is that it's free to join and it's fairly simple to use. We wanted to make sure, anyone can navigate it and anyone can use it. We always like to tell people when they ask, when is the right time to launch on a marketplace or a new marketplace? And we say it's anytime. I think it's, especially in today's world that's moving very fast, and there's a lot happening economically worldwide. I think the more options you have, the better as a seller. And I think the more research you do and kind of being proactive to go after these different marketplaces, the better. So in Mirakl Connect, you come on as a seller, you see all of our marketplaces, you talk to our team, And we can help answer questions, help identify which marketplaces are right for you. If those are domestically, that's someone from my team. If it's internationally, that's someone from another team. We put you in touch with them and get the process started. Depending on integration method, it does not take very long to go on a new marketplace. It can take anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks, depending. So we'd like to make the process as seamless as possible for a seller, but I do think right now, especially as we're entering Q4, is the moment to kind of reevaluate, look at your distribution, and then try and get yourselves onto some new marketplaces, and see what that process looks like, and to expand.
Brilliant. And Garrett, finally for you, how can you ensure that sellers, as they take that leap, they get in contact with Whitney, they launch onto new marketplaces, that we can help them support anywhere they sell online, regardless of territory?
Yeah, but look, that's what we do best here at eDesk, isn't it? Right. So that's what we're all about. We're all about the customer experience, customer communications. And again, from the start of when we founded this company, we believed in omni-channel, we believed in multiple sales channels. Before probably other people maybe quite saw it, we were there, and that's in our DNA. It's always what we've done, and that's why I think ourselves in Mirakl is such a great fit, because we both believe in that, and we both believe in terms of enabling sellers to sell across multiple different places. And that's what does eDesk do? It really does that. It allows you to sell across multiple platforms and centralize your customer communications in one place, right? And that can be from social channels, from marketplaces, from your website, from chat, from WhatsApp, the whole lot, right, into one place. And again, just give that really, really positive customer experience. And that's what we do. We do it very well. So I think that's what we're about. And again, I think that's why we're such a great partner here for Mirakl, because I think both of us coming together kind of believe in the same thing,
Excellent. Well, everyone, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. I hope you took away some learnings from today's webinar. I'd like to thank Whitney and Garrett for taking part and providing your insights. Whitney is available for anyone looking to take the leap and make that move onto new marketplaces. Likewise, Garrett is here if you are looking for any sort of ideas on the many different ways you can support customers as you sell on different places, different marketplaces, and new channels. So any questions that have been asked, we'll reach out individually to the person who's asked. And likewise, keep an eye out. We've got a bunch of different supporting materials to make sure that you are fully backed when you take the leap and sell elsewhere online. Thanks so much, guys. Cheers for coming, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Cheers.